House lawmakers are expected to question two allies of former President Trump's today about their alleged roles in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The House Select Committee subpoenaed former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon. However, he is refusing to cooperate. His lawyer is citing executive privilege. The panel also summoned former Defense Department official Kash Patel. For more on all of this, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Hi, Nikole. So first off, what are lawmakers hoping to learn through these depositions?
Well, in terms of these depositions for these four former Trump officials, the bottom line is they just want to know what these former aides and advisors knew and when they knew it, and, what their conversations were with the former president. They were all in very close contact, for the most part, with the former president in the run-up to January 6th and even on the day of. So they want to know, again, what kind of conversations they may have been having with the former president, what kind of communications or records they may have pertaining to their relationship with the former president. And so that is why they are targeting these individuals, because we're talking about people who, were really part of the former president's brain trust. When you look at people like former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon or his former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, his another communications aide Dan Scavino, and Kash Patel, who worked for the Defense Department. So all that being said, these are folks who are pretty close to the top, if not right at the top. And so that's why the committee wants to hear from these former aides as to what type of information they may have about the events surrounding January 6th.
Right. And Nikole, as we mentioned at the top there, Steve Bannon's attorney has indicated he does not intend to produce documents or testify at this time. So what action can lawmakers take if he continues to refuse to cooperate? And could he face some legal trouble?
Yeah, well, basically what Steve Bannon's attorney is saying is that until this issue of executive privilege is resolved, even if it goes to court, that his client, Steve Bannon, is not going to comply. So, they want the scope of that executive privilege question to be fleshed out before they start cooperating with this committee. But some have argued that that is a weak argument because in Mr. Bannon's case, he had long been out of the White House. So does executive privilege still pertain to him at this particular time? And, quite frankly, it's just a scenario where, the former president's legal team has made clear to all of those who have recently been subpoenaed that, again, until this issue is resolved, they don't want them to necessarily cooperate or comply with the committee. We do know that the White House just earlier this week issued a letter saying that they want the National Archives to turn over documents that they are in essence waiving any types of rights to executive privilege. They're not going to block anything. So that is the current White House's position on that. So even if the former president argues executive privilege, the current White House is saying, we're waiving that. It's not relevant in this case. These documents should be released.
And Nikole, the committee also issued a subpoena for a former Justice Department official, Jeffrey Clark. What can you tell us about Clark and why he's being investigated?
So this is a former Department of Justice official who really is seen as a Trump loyalist. He was willing to pursue some of these fraudulent election claims that the former president wanted to look into, so much so that the former president at one point considered ousting his acting attorney general and installing Mr. Clark in that position. But there had already been so much turmoil within the Justice Department at that point that many Justice Department officials warned the former president that there would be, mass resignations if he were to pull a move like that.
Right. And to your point, former acting attorney general Jeffrey Rosen met with lawmakers for 8 hours behind closed doors yesterday. What details do you know about that meeting and why lawmakers wanted to talk to him specifically?
Yeah, well, so just to expand on that, story, Mr. Rosen was the acting attorney general at the time. So again, in the days leading up to January 6th, the former president at one point considered ousting Mr. Rosen and putting Mr. Clark in that acting attorney general position. And so Mr. Rosen has been quite cooperative with a number of congressional panels up until this point. He's spoken before and testified before a Senate panel earlier this year. And so we understand that he did sit down with this House Select Committee for about 8 hours yesterday. We don't have a lot of details as to his precise testimony that he gave, but certainly notable that, he continues to cooperate again with lawmakers.
All right, Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill, thank you so much.
You bet.